Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show how Giraffe can be used to do a test fit for a building acquisition. So I'm going to assume that I'm a large corporation and I am opening an office in Sydney and I need to find a space for say 2,500 workers. And this building, say, has come up for sale or for lease. I'm just going to show you how quickly you can go from knowing nothing to knowing something. But the speed does come at the cost of accuracy. So let's say the broker's told me that this building is something like 24 levels of commercial and it's sitting on top of one level of retail. Okay, so I just model that up, right? And this building, this 38.4 meter and this 38.7, that's not 100% accurate. And if we add in imagery, I'm sure we'll be able to sort of refine that building. But for this initial discussion, it's like, is this building worth it even thinking about? This is a great amount of information. So you can see the aerial is not exact, but that's quite actually an accurate representation of that building. So I'll leave that as it was. All right, I'll turn the imagery off and I'll turn this on. And I'll just turn the 3D buildings ghosted on so we can see what's happening. Okay, so now we can see that this assumption here is that the commercial is 90%. So you can see in my commercial, we've got an efficiency of 90%. And this may be good enough. And we may not have to do anything more whatsoever and just assume the 90%. But we could, especially if the core was sticking through the roof, we could go the extra mile and say, well, this building actually, it has a central core. And if I had a PDF outline, or maybe I was just speaking to the broker on the call, I could say that, you know, the core is something like this in the middle. And so I'm going to draw that. I'm going to draw that core, and I've got this core use case. So this typology, which is brown. Okay, now my commercial is floor to floor of 3.8 and my core has a floor to floor of 3.2, so I'll set that to 3.8 so just everything matches up. Save that change and then lower the levels down. Okay, and what's nice about this now is because I have the core, I can actually say I'm going to set my commercial cell efficiency to 100% because I've actually explicitly told Giraffe which bits of this building I'm going to be leasing, right? And I've got this 14 meter depth over there. And so I know the exact area, this 1305 per floor plate. So a degree of accuracy. And again, we're only 3 minutes in. So, you know. And now I'm going to say total workers housed or provided for. And, or I'll just call this analysis. Analysis, save changes. All right. Now let's get total workers provided for. And I'm going to get that saleable area. And I'm just going to look for the commercial use case because we'll talk about the retail in a bit. And I'm going to say workers. That's the unit of measure. And it's the area divided by the space per worker. And say, in discussion with my board, we're going to allow 12 square meters per worker, or maybe 14 square meters per worker. And if we do that, you can see, hey, we can allow for 2,400 workers in this building. So we're about, this is, you know, it's worth considering. Now, what you could say, or in the meeting, is we know that with work from home, that 2,400, that's going to lower. So what we may want to do is provide a couple of amenity levels. So maybe instead of all commercial, we're going to do, let's say, what should we build? Should we say gym? Okay, and let's make the gym that, and let's make a cafe. Make the cafe like that. And so why don't we go, all right, so we're going to do, this guy's going to be a cafe, whole level. Maybe we pop him at the top, rooftop cafe. maybe not. And I'll pop that guy right at the top, and I'm one short, so I'll add another layer and call this thing Jim. We may say now this Jim's slightly too big, so we'll shrink him down all the way. So he's just on one side, so nice Jim. And then what we can do over here is, on this side, do chill out space. So let's just say, what are they? I think they call them third. Let's say chill zone. The chill zone. It's biophilic design. It's nice and green. Save changes. Okay, excuse me. All right, and then there's kind of this wasted space over here, as in it's not programmed. It's just, maybe it's part of the chill zone actually. All right. And you can see what I'm doing is I'm getting the core, I'm just breaking this building into bits of program. And if we put everything up to full, it's like a nice little stack diagram. You can explain what's going on. And you can see, this is useful. And you can see what's happened now is because we've taken these 2 floors away, we've lost sort of a percentage of our workers. We're now only allowing for 2,200, right? And you may now know, okay, like, we can say cafe capacity, and let's just look for the cafe, and we'll look for its saleable area, and we'll say everyone in the cafe needs 3 square meters, right? And it's in workers as well, and the cafe can feed 435 people, and at capacity, and we can say required cafe capacity, and we say, okay, based on the number of workers, total workers, we say half the workers are in any one day, and of that, half eat at the cafe. And of that, there's kind of 2 lunch shifts, as in half eat at midday, half eat at 1 o'clock. So your max cafe capacity is 276. All right, so we can actually say we've over-provided cafe. Let's shrink that down. And something is wrong. That's because I'm editing the chill zone. And it's clear we've over-provided cafe because this cafe is an entire floor plate. Okay, there we go. So we've got now slightly too small. There we go. So nice big cafe, and maybe what we then do is we copy this chill zone down, pop him under, pop the cafe. There we go. It's like Jenga. You're interlocking these little bits of program. Cool. All right. So now we've got the right number of cafe capacity, and it's hitting our required. It's larger than our required cafe capacity. But after 8 minutes, we've got a pitch. I think we can go to people and actually sort of talk this through and explain what we're doing and why we should at least unlock some pursuit budget for this building, and potentially move towards getting some real fit outs done and making an offer. And now what I'm going to do in the next video is show you how you can actually start making an office fit out. Hi guys, is part 2 of the fictional acquisition of 3 Market Street that I'm doing for Portfolio Enterprise. So last video I created this little block and stack, cafeteria, chill zone, gym, and total workers provided for, which is great. Now I want to do an actual typical floor layout with some desks on it. So what I've done is I've come to Vectory, and I have created these tri-desks. I'm calling them tri-desks because they're 3 desks. And I'm going to export them as like pairs. So maybe I'll do it like this. So there's kind of like a space between them. It's fictional. It's like a lambda. And then I'm going to export this bad boy and as GLB. Now, I am not sufficiently versed in Vectory to export to scale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this down and pop it over here and set its levels to 0. And this is just going to be my typical floor layout. And I'm going to start arranging some desks around this thing on some points. So I'm going to add this GLTF usage to the points, and I'm going to upload project 4, try desk chevron, save. I'm just going to just write this GLB. So GLB graphics language binary, try desk chevron, use this file. And I'm going to add a scale, and I think it's about 9, and I'm going to add, because it's maybe feet to meters, something like that, and I'll go save changes. Okay, and you can see I've got these tri-desk chevrons. Now it looks to me like they're being arranged sort of vertically along, as in this is the line, so I'm going to rotate them exactly 90 degrees. And you'll never guess, but the rotation parameter is called rotation. That's better, and now the distance between them is slightly too large, and so in the array, rather than 10 meters apart, I think we can get them down to something like that. Cool. Okay, and now this allows me to Alt-C, Alt-V, sorry, get out of there. V, I can get like a, groovy. Okay, so that's some sort of layout. Now, whether it's good or bad, I would not presume rather to know. Okay. All right, now what's happening is I've set up this desk count, which I'm going to delete. I'm going to start from scratch. Okay, so now we want to count our desks, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some desks, and then I'm going to do some meeting rooms. So obviously I have some desks on the page now, but they're not showing me a count. They're not doing my analytics. They may be hitting my standards. Like I may know, for example, that this is in my corporate, like my portfolio enterprise approved supplier list. I can just get these things. I may know that I've done a deal with the union, that this is the right spacing, that, you know, we love working in pods of 3 or whatever it is, and that they need to be, you know, 5.23 apart as a bare minimum. So there could be a lot of information here, but let's actually count them now. And it's going to be quite easy to count them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a property to the output called desk count. And I'm going to set that for each tri-desk pair chevron. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 desks. 6. And I'm going to save. Okay, and now I'll show you a common mistake. So now we can count them up. Desk count, and we're going to be counting in desks, and we are going to look for the desk count parameter, and we're just going to return it A. Right, save. And there's 36, which is good. And if we stretch another one, 42, 36, 42. Okay, and now this is not counted because in the output I haven't added that desk count property. So if I add that desk count property, and I set it to 6, we're now up to 72, so that's good. That is fantastic. All right, and now what I could do is I could say, actually, the number of commercial levels is 22, so I could say times 22. So I now have 1,400 desks. If every floor is like this, there are 1,400 desks. But now let's do some meeting rooms, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the subdivision algorithm. Now I better make a meeting room typology, so I've got this cafe clone meeting room. Okay, and we'll make them fuchsia. Save changes. Okay, so I've got this rectangle, and I'm going to use subdivision, subdivide to lots, to parcels. But we don't need to do it that way. We are going to look for we're not going to split it, going to be things. We're going to look for an area, and that area target, maybe a meeting room is 3 by 5, 15. And there's no minimum. Okay, so we're looking for 15 square meter meeting rooms, and what I'm going to do now is just hop into the flow builder because we don't need the envelopes. There they are. And inner area target 15. Okay, it's all 15. Min frontage 1, 1. Okay, and this we're going to go meeting room with 1 level. Save changes. Okay, there they are. All right, so as I shrink this down, these meeting rooms get wider, obviously, as they're going for 15 square meters. And if I just show that overlay on this parameter, show overlay, you'll see the frontage and the area. So 3 meter frontage, 13, 14.8, 15. So I can have these as my 15ers, and if we can do skinnies, or we can, not do skinnies, then what I'm able to do, I don't like this little end, something's happening here, it's not a happy, there it is, just kick that algorithm. Maybe what I'll do is I'll set the minimum area to 14 and 14. Okay, so these are my meeting rooms, my 15 meters, and what I'll do is I'll do some meeting rooms where we're looking for 30 square meters, 30 and 30, and now I can do some offices. And I'm using base point move to snap to that, and something like this. Actually, I better pull this guy back. Maybe I can do that. Yeah, so people can wander around. This is looking good, and we better make an office type. So I'll go to that. I'll go to that meeting room. Meeting room clone. Office. Okay. Make it like a more washed out pink. Save. These guys can be offices. Again, we're targeting 15. Now remember that's saved on the parameter itself. And maybe we can do some more of those over here. Base point move, snap, snap. Okay. And I guess now let's put a cafeteria. So we can just put a zone here that's, the cafe. Now, if I had some 3D models, like this desk that I've made of the cafe, I would put those over here. And so I'll add a height and a color. And I'm not going to count anything here. I'm just going to say this is like a fun orange zone. It's like 0.2 meters high. There we go. Okay, so that's the cafe. So we could say, hey, Rob, you can't get in. So there we go. And then maybe let's chuck a reception over here. Let's see, I'll be like a bit of an arrival area. Maybe this is a level that actually people come to. So we can do this and have a reception desk over here, something like this. Give that a bit of height as a desk. And it's going to be Carrera marble. Okay, so you come in, there's a meeting room to your left, 2 meeting rooms to your right, some offices, and as you round the corner, desks galore. There we go. And if you go around the corner to the left, there's the cafe. Okay, happy. Like this is a bad layout because I'm not a great layout fella. But it's a good layout in the sense that there's a lot of data on here. Oh, something we haven't done is counter the desks. So what we're going to do is duplicate this and get meeting room count. And it's going to use meeting rooms. All right. And we're just going to look for meeting rooms and the levels. And it's just going to be 1. We're going to count them. Count, meeting room 3. Meeting room 3. Do something like this. 5, 3, 2. Okay, and then just duplicate that onto offices as well. Office, save changes, in case we've got 10 offices. So now we can say, it's too many offices. We could also say, how does that guy get into his office? Presumably something like that. Cool. Refinement, and maybe these should be meeting rooms as well. Now, if you wanted to do analytics on meeting rooms per person, office count, save, we could do that. So we know like the desk count, and we know the meeting room count, we know the office count, and we may as well, yeah, I may stop this and just stop that 22 and just save changes. So we have 60 people, 60 desks, 8 meeting rooms, and 6 offices, and a cafe, and with work from home, maybe, maybe that's the right amount. And maybe here's office stationery and supplies, etc. All right, this is informative. This is worth knowing about. Now, if I push this on top and make the stack order extremely high, we can actually lay this thing out on inner level. I would have to do the same. I'd have to add a 4 stack to my 3D, but I'd probably keep this on the ground here. It's actually quite nice to do some sort of presentation like this, where you go, okay, maybe we don't have meeting rooms and offices every level. Maybe we have some levels where there's the cafe like this, but we get some extra desks. So I'll put this desk, an extra row of desks there. And we separate the cafe from the entrance with some meeting rooms. Put the bigger meeting rooms over here. Maybe we're targeting 30 meeting rooms, just 2 of them. You can stretch them in the, make them even bigger. There's no reception here. This is a private level. And we can do this. Okay, so now we've got a couple of layouts. We've got layout 1, and we've got layout 2. Now we're not breaking out the analytics per layout, but we could. So let's just go into that. Call this layout 2. And I'm going to draw it on. I'm going to call this layout 1. And I'm going to call this layout, I'm just going to do 2 layouts. Okay, so let's put this on layout 1. Layout 1, and let's put this guy on layout 2. Okay, that hasn't changed anything because we haven't set this thing up. So I'm just going to do this, remove that, split by layer. Okay, and that's how good it is. So for some reason we've missed some offices here because layout 1 and layout 2. Okay, there we go. So we've got 84 desks in layout 2 and 60 in layout 1. And we've got 6 offices in layout 1, 3 plus 3 plus 8 meetings, 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 4, 8, yeah. And then we've got 5, 2 plus 3 over here. And that's how quickly we can start iterating once things, really get into it.